Alright, welcome back to We Play Games. I'm Walker, and here we are about to begin a new campaign as Great Qing in Victoria 3 Open Beta 1.2. So we're going to be playing Great Qing. I think our goal this campaign is going to be to enact Council Republic and cooperative ownership or command economy, and just try to get a pretty good standard of living and a pretty well-developed industrialized economy. But I think if we end up puppeting a whole lot of people along the way, that won't be surprising for the channel, but we're going to try to do it with respect to the way that Infamy works in Open Beta 1.2. It really does look like they've rebalanced things in a way where conquering at 100 Infamy is pretty useless economically, and so you can only do it once your economy is in a good enough shape. So this is going to be, I think, a really different scale versus a lot of the other campaigns, just because we are starting with Great Qing. This is, I think, probably the strongest nation in the game, but it's definitely gotten a lot weaker since 1.1, because you can't just 1v1 Great Britain without any issues. You can still fight them at the very beginning if you want to, but you kind of have to use the bounce bug in order to win, because Great Britain's troops are just going to absolutely crunk yours. And so what we're going to be doing here with Great Qing is we're going to actually delay the First Opium War, and we've actually found a position where I think we can annex Tibet on game unpause, because it looks like the East India Company has set itself to be conciliatory towards us. But we are going to try to do something about the opium crisis. We're not going to delay fighting the British forever, but we do probably want to make sure that we have an ally before we start any fighting. So we juiced our influence by declaring a whole bunch of rivalries, which means that we can start doing improved relations with basically all of the great powers, except of course Great Britain. Inevitably, we're gonna have to fight them. Great, we got our new leader for our age. So with the rebalance to serfdom and corn laws, it is really critical that you're using corn laws now, because it does get you out of serfdom super fast. But that's also really critical here in 1.2.2, because serfdom now adds a maximum infrastructure from population penalty, which means that fighting in territory that you control that is under the control of serfdom is way worse than normal. But there's been a pretty significant rebalance in regards to warfare in 1.2 as well. So now troop quantity matters a lot more. And so having a numeric advantage on the front that you're fighting along is actually going to be helpful in terms of not just helping you win the war, but also in terms of helping you win battles. So now we're going to be deploying a lot more troops to the front. And now the low concentration of battalions across the length of front is actually a lot lower. Unfortunately, there's still a cap in terms of combat width and the infrastructure locally, but of course what that should highlight to you is that if you're fighting these wars against imperialists as China, then you really do want to maximize your infrastructure, but also fighting in just high infrastructure regions is just going to be a lot more useful when you have a quantitative numerical advantage. Oh cool, we got serfdom abolished. I think what we're going to do is we're going to switch out of traditionalism, but rather than jumping straight into laissez-faire, I think we're going to go into interventionism first. The reason being that interventionism is 50% private construction, whereas laissez-faire is 75%, and at the moment we really do need control over as much of our construction as we can get. So we'll start by moving into interventionism, but then after that we might bring the rural folk into government and implement a professional army, because we're going to have a very, very happy scholar officials pretty soon. Alright, so we've successfully annexed Tibet. Generally speaking, removing subjects that are adjacent to you can be pretty helpful, just because it frees up influence. And boy, we're burning through it. We are improving relations with a lot of people right now. Oh, great, we got interventionism. Well, we can actually build a contested government here that is going to give us a 25% chance to work on either professional army or national militia. I think that's probably worth trying. So let's go ahead and see if we can get a professional army through. We don't have a jingoist, of course, so this is going to make the scholar officials angry, but if we get it through, it'll still be useful, and this is going to make our troops a lot stronger. But one thing that we've got going for us is we have a protective attitude out of Prussia, and so we're going to try to do our best to maintain good trading relationships with them. And the more we can build up our relationship with them, the more likely we can get towards a defensive pact. Because if we have a defensive pact with Prussia, then I'm just not that afraid of taking the Opium War out of Great Britain, especially because Great Britain is fighting France right now. I mean, we could potentially try to do it while they're tied up here in France. Let's see if we get our professional army. A professional army would be really good. The Russians are trying to annex one of their subjects. This might be an opportunity for us to jump in, improve their... Oh, cool, we got professional army. Sweet. So yeah, we might be able to jump in, help Russia out, improve our relationships there, and then turn around and sign a trade agreement with them. That would be really big. A trade agreement or a defensive pact with Russia would be huge. Hey, Russia wants to sign a trade agreement with us. Good. My understanding is that the AI still breaks those trade agreements if they think they aren't worth it, so we want to make sure that we really juice as much trade with Russia as we can. All right, of course, we got our professional army, so let's go ahead and reform our government again, so that way we can have our maximum legitimacy here. But I think what we're going to be aiming to do is move into laissez-faire once we build up our economy to maybe 250 or so. And as we build government administrations and build down our tax waste, our economy should come roaring back to life. Oh, there's a revolution in England. This might be just the opportunity we were looking for. Let's see. Oh, we could offer an obligation to Prussia for a trade agreement. Okay, great. I think it might be worth it to just click ban the opium trade now. Start the ticking. Don't think the British are gonna attack us while they're in the middle of a civil war. And that gives us a little time to hopefully work on this relationship with Prussia, because I think this is gonna be our best bet. Yeah, it looks like Russia canceled their trade agreement. So the boost that you get to your relationship by jumping in seems to be temporary, in 1.2 at least. Well, boy, if the British capitalist revolt somehow manages to win this, it'll be really good for us. So maybe we want to start improving relations with them. Oh, actually, it looks like the British capitalist revolt has taken control of the Highlands here. Yeah, I'm actually not sure who's going to end up winning this. So I think that there might be a couple of different strategies to winning the Opium War. The first and most direct way to win it is to just abuse the bounce bug. So when the British invade Beijing, there's a good chance that if you catch it on the exact day that they land and you send troops to that front, that for whatever reason, the troops that the British send just stall out locally and they don't keep advancing. They turn into standby back at home. All right, looks like the other way to win it is to just have Great Britain fight a civil war and then they just don't attack you. There, done. That's certainly another way to approach the Opium Wars. But if you're not going to be able to reliably have access to an ally and cannons, then I don't think you can really fight the British as well anymore. You need to have pretty large amounts of infrastructure locally in order to really be able to leverage your troops. And so what that means is fighting the British on home turf becomes very difficult prior to having access to rail. But oh boy, if we manage to sneak through without having to actually fight the Opium War, that'd be pretty good. Ooh, Prussia now is at the point where they would accept an obligation in order to sign a defensive pact with us. Unfortunately, we did have to offer them an obligation in order to get our trade agreement, but either they'll use that to, like, poach one of our generals, or they'll absolve it, or it'll just dissolve naturally. Ah, France wants a trade agreement with us. That's fine by me. I love trading with France. Dog, we're gonna get so many loyalists by the end of this, because we're gonna have corn laws to end as well. This is gonna be a pretty loyal state for a brief moment. Oh, and the Ottoman Empire wants a trade agreement too. Wow. We're gonna have a lot of trade partners pretty soon, and that'll be great for us, because we're gonna be switching into free trade as soon as we get out of Opium Crisis. Assuming we have the tech unlocked by then. All right, so here we can go ahead and take either +2 minimum wealth, which would be a really big bonus to our standard of living, but a temporary one. Or we can take sovereignty of Great Qing as absolute, which is +20% authority, but again, temporary. But I think a temporary minimum wealth bonus is actually a little dangerous to us, just because it'll give us the opportunity for a lot of people to get a taste of wealth and then have it taken away. So I think rather than going that way, we'll just get extra authority. Extra authority is always good. All right, so we have 9 more months before the invention of stock exchange. So 9 more months before we can really get rolling. And I think let's go ahead and take this treaty port back from Portugal. Now, what I'm really hoping here is that the British jump in and help out the Portuguese. Oh, they declared themselves neutral. Well, all right, we'll get Macau free of charge, but we are now looking to pick a fight with Great Britain or with France potentially, because now we're at the point where we actually need to get recognition, and we really want to get recognition as soon as possible. All right, now let's move into free trade. This is going to be huge for our bureaucracy. All right, so we took back Macau. That's really important when it comes to managing Heavenly Kingdom now that they've streamlined it. It looks like Great Qing is in a much better place in regards to the way the Heavenly Kingdom event actually operates. More or less, just kick the Portuguese out of Macau and don't give the British a treaty port. You should have Heavenly Kingdom under control. But now we need another interest somewhere. Oh great, we hit free trade, and that's going to end our corn laws. Let the grain trade begin. 58.6 million. Good. But now we've activated an interest in Oceania. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick a fight with the British, and I think we're going to demand recognition from them. My only question here is, do we have enough weapons to really make this work? I think we do. So yeah, let's start an open market diplo play against Western Australia. We'll add recognition and British war reps. We'll add those as primaries as well. Mobilize all our generals. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and activate some conscripts too, because we really do want to just have as many troops as possible, because more soldiers, especially if we can flood the zone, can allow us to apply more troops to any individual battle. And so while this is going to dramatically increase the price of guns and artillery locally, I think it's going to be okay. Alright, so we've gotten our war with Great Britain now. So what we're going to aim to do is take parts of Western Australia, occupy the main war goal there, and then we'll occupy some territory that the British control, and then we'll offer them sort of like a half piece. I don't actually care if we open their market or not, but it's a great way for us to grab some war reps here. And we're racing along towards railway. And then we're going to pick up line infantry in Napoleonic warfare immediately after that, because I do want to get our military sort of on par. But I think we're going to do colonization and then start working our way down towards central archives, because I want to get some institutions online. And getting institutions online as Great Qing is, as you'd imagine, pretty expensive. But here, because we just have so many troops, we are actually able to fight back against the British. We have a ton of troops, we have professional army, we have cannons, and the combination of those things means that I feel pretty good about our chances here. Yeah, this is looking like it'll be a pretty easy war for us, but I think it'll be a good start for us here with Great Qing. Getting recognition early really is a big deal, and so you can still fight that early fight with Great Britain, fight the First Opium War, and then do a bounce bug and come out way ahead. But I don't think it's as fun or as flavorful as just, fighting a real war with the Europeans. But this is a lot harder. Don't get me wrong. It's a lot harder to fight the Opium War in 1836 than it once was. And we got rail. Oh man, did we get rail. All right, it's off to the races, everybody. But yeah, looks like we'll win the First Opium War. We've inserted ourselves into European politics. We're gonna win recognition, and then we'll start developing some more complicated trading relationships here. But yeah, that's going to be the first episode of this new campaign. I think we're going to call this China Stands Up, rather uncreatively. But I think it'll just be a great opportunity for us to show off what is possible with Great Qing in Victoria 3. Because I really do think that Great Qing is probably still a little overpowered. I think that the easiest way to balance them out a little bit would be to have them not start with Manchu and Han as primary cultures, but just start with Manchu. And then if they start in racial segregation, then they'll actually begin the game discriminating against their Han pops. But if they switch into cultural exclusion because they're all part of the Sinosphere, then they would be tolerating the Han pops. And so that would create like an interesting tension within Great Qing. Oh, right, we don't even need to damage relationships with Great Britain anymore. We can go back to becoming friendly trade partners with them. Because we want to be friendly trade partners with a lot of people, because our economy is going to be just like way bigger than everybody else. And so, and so we also want to make a big naval base. That's the other thing we want to do. Just get a whole bunch of boats, and then you just get a whole bunch of interests. And then you can do a whole bunch of trading, and then you can just kind of bully everybody into being your friends. And this is going to be the beginning of the Industrial Revolution in Great Qing. We're going to do our best to get the industrialists up and powerful, and then we're going to start industrializing Great Qing in a way that's going to make the trade unions powerful but angry. And if they're powerful and angry, then they might get attracted to vanguardism, which is what we need if we want to move into command economy. Or they might get attracted to communism or socialism or anarchism, and then we can see where we go from there. I think anarchism in Great Qing might be pretty fun. I don't know if I've ever used anarchy before in Victoria 3, but it might be pretty wild. Maybe we'll do that. All right, that's Walker. Take care.